talking about this Donald Trump interview with Chris Wallace that aired yesterday. Coming up here in a few minutes, we're going to be speaking with Clarence Page from the Chicago Tribune. He's a syndicated columnist, and we're going to talk a little bit about the late, great John Lewis, what he did for African Americans throughout his life. And by the way, it took Donald Trump only 14 hours to tweet something about John Lewis. When it comes to Rosie O'Donnell, when it comes to Saturday Night Live, Donald Trump will tweet immediately. But when it comes to John Lewis, as I said, it took him 14 hours. By the way, Marco Rubio, and this guy Sullivan.
And I believe John Lewis died at night, correct? So it's possible, actually quite likely, that Donald Trump was asleep for about 8 to 10 of those hours.
So 14 hours, that sounds about right for him. But anyway, Marco Rubio and Sullivan put up pictures in talking about John Lewis, but it was actually the late, great Elijah Cummings. They put pictures up there with, because they are complete buffoons. Just a completely ridiculous mistake. How do you make that mistake? It's so disrespectful to John Lewis and his family. It's just unbelievable. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about Joe Biden, because Donald Trump was asked about Joe Biden in this interview with Chris Wallace, and here's what Donald Trump thinks about Joe Biden and possibly being senile. Have a listen to this.
I don't want to say that. I say he's not competent to be president. To be president, you have to be sharp and tough and so many other things. He doesn't even come out of his basement. They think, oh, this is a great campaign. So he goes in. I'll then make a speech. It'll be a great speech. And some young guys start writing, Vice President Biden said this. He didn't say it. Joe doesn't know he's alive, okay? He doesn't know he's alive.
Just beyond disrespectful and beyond disgusting for the president to talk about Joe Biden that way. By the way, speaking of sharp, yes, the president talking about injecting yourself with disinfectants. Boy, that's really sharp. Wallace challenged Trump, by the way, on the competency test. He bragged about passing. Have a listen to this.
Incidentally, I took the test, too, when I heard that you passed it.
Yeah, how did you do it?
Well, it's not the hardest test.
No, but
there's a picture, and it says, what's that? And it's an elephant.
No. You see, that's all misrepresentation.
Well, that's what it was on the web.
It's all misrepresentation. Because, yes, the first few questions are easy, but I'll bet you couldn't even answer the last 5 questions. I'll bet you couldn't. They get very hard, the last 5 questions.
Well, one of them was count back from 100 by 7.
By the way, I heard, yeah, that's a real tough one. I heard the last question in that test got really hard. It says, Mr. President, was your father a Klan member? That was the toughest question on the entire test. He stumbled with that one. But anyway, we're taking your phone calls at 257-5396. Why don't we go to Paul? Paul, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Paul?
Hey, how's it going? Hey, I'm one of the guys that you call a reasonable Trump supporter.
Well, good. Good.
So here's my thing about the I did watch most of that interview.
Yes.
And I think one thing that the president missed on, an opportunity for himself. I want to tell you about that, and I also want to tell you about what I think about what he said about Biden is, President said, you don't see Joe Biden doing these interviews. And Wallace said, well, we requested one. Mm-hmm. And instead of the president saying, well, how did he respond? Is he going to do it? He just kept on going. So he could have had Wallace do his job for him if Biden did.
You know why, Paul? That's a good point, Paul. You know why?
That's ego.
Because Donald Trump has major ADD. He can't even let a member of the press, in this case a one-on-one interview, he won't even let Wallace finish asking a question. I mean, the guy is just, it's unbelievable.
But people with ADD do have a lot of creative ideas and do tend to be very, very productive. But you're right, he had a chance.
Response to Joe Biden.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have an 80-year-old mother now, so dementia is not funny no matter who you're talking about. I think I do agree if he would have said, because I did like when he first responded, he said, I wouldn't go there. When he said, do you think Joe Biden I don't remember the exact word, but basically.
Senile.
Senile, yeah. And he said no, and I said, good for you. And then he kind of went on, and the more he talked,
he showed 2 seconds.
So when he got to the point where he said, if you ask Joe Biden these questions, he'd be on the ground crying for mom.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was just like, damn, dude, every time you take a step forward, you take 2 steps back.
Joel, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, he showed 2 seconds of class, Donald Trump did in that interview. I did too. Nice. I did too. Joel, I appreciate the phone call. That's why you're a reasonable Republican. 257.
Name's Paul. Good call, Paul.
Paul, I apologize. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Lewis. Lewis is next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Lewis?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. What's up, Lewis?
All right. Well, you said you like listening to scientists, and I just want to know what your opinion is of an organization of 67,000 pediatricians say that kids should go back to school.
Okay, so let me hold on. Let me answer. Let me answer.
Let me finish. This is from the U.S. News and
Sure.
World Report
Sure.
from June 29th.
First of all, let me just say, okay, would you like me to respond? Thank you. First of all, I didn't say I like listening to scientists. I said I would rather listen to the scientists and the doctors than politicians. So I just want to be very clear. So let me know. Okay, so
go to school.
all right, how about you talk and you don't let me answer the questions? How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds great.
Okay, have a nice day, sir. Have a nice day. We'll move on to the next caller. Don't need you if you're going to be disrespectful. 702-257.
Answer the question, bro?
702-257-5396.
I'm actually curious about this answer. What do you think about that? 67,000 pediatricians.
I have no idea what he's talking about. I haven't seen that study.
Okay.
I don't have it in front of me.
If you had it, okay.
And I'm not going to
Fair enough.
respond to it when when I have no idea what's in that study. That sounds to me like a guy that misrepresents the facts to fit his political narrative, and I'm not going to respond to him for two reasons. Number one, I don't have the study in front of me, and number two, he's a moron. 257-5396. Go to Joel. Joel, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Joel?
Good morning, guys. With respect to kids going back to school, while we all agree that that's probably the best as long as it's safe, the biggest issue ahead of us is how do we make the schools safe? The CDC suggests that every school have its HVAC tested and repairs being made so that the air that's circulating in there is not going to carry a virus. That's going to cost tens of millions, if not billions, of dollars to get done. We also have to have every school have enough nurses and or medical staff available if a kid gets sick and or a teacher.
Right.
We don't have that now.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest problem we face is lack of leadership. There is no centralized plan to get any of this stuff done in order to open schools for kids to go and be safe and have teachers.
JD, Joel, hang on the line. JD, would you like to respond? Everything Joel's saying I agree with. So what do you disagree with?
I don't have a study in front of me to respond to, so no, I can't. I can't do it.
Oh, come on.
Okay. Well, yeah, you have a pretty strong opinion.
You know, Joel, I think that we don't have enough money to do those things in the first place. So
how do we guarantee kids' safety?
You can't technically guarantee every single kid's safety, Joel, or every single employee's safety. There's going to be a give and take. There's going to be a give and take with the economy, with everything. But at the same time, how are you going to pay for the parents that are at home taking care of their kids? Where are they going to make their money from? Where is that money coming from? The government?
Let me ask you this: are you willing to?
We're just going to keep destroying the value of our dollar.
Go ahead, Joel.
Are you willing to jeopardize your child's safety because we can't protect everybody?
Based on the statistics, the chance of my child being sick are extremely, extremely low.
Are you willing to
by that definition, I'm jeopardizing my child's safety every time I get into a car.
Again, you're avoiding the question that I asked you.
I'm comparing it to other things in life that could jeopardize my child's safety.
By sending her or him to school.
By that logic, or for example, my child has a 1 in 15,000 chance of being struck by lightning in her lifetime. By that logic, every time it's raining and there's lightning outside, my child being outside is at a higher risk than she's of the coronavirus because there's been so little of deaths in that age range.
Hold on a second.
Nationally.
Hold on a second. So somebody in your child's daycare facility contracted the virus.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So was that a 1 in 15,000 chance?
I'll actually tell you. I'll tell you the whole story here. So a child in my daughter's daycare contracted the virus. The reason the child found out was because the father worked at a place where everyone had to be tested. So his entire family got tested. The child was tested. The child was asymptomatic. But because of contact tracing, my child's daycare forced me and my family and everyone else in my child's class to get tested as well.
So let's go with this for a second.
So the child was asymptomatic.
The
child was not sick.
I get your story. I
don't think you understand that.
I do understand. If you let me speak on this.
You're saying that a child contracted the virus.
Hold on a second.
But the child was not hospitalized.
Okay, you got to let me.
The child did not die. The child was not. Okay. The child was asymptomatic.
You got to let me.
The only reason that the child knew that the child had the virus was because of contact tracing. Because Governor Sisolak has implemented 7,000 people that all they do is they send text messages and they call people and they ruin their days.
All right, you got to
That's
let
what
me
happens,
respond.
Brian.
Can I respond now?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I don't care whether the child was asymptomatic or not. The bottom line is the child tested positive for the coronavirus, and your child did not have a 1 in 15,000 chance of getting it from that child.
No, I'm not
hold on.
saying getting it.
If I can finish,
I'm saying
if I can
dying,
finish,
getting
if I can finish,
extremely
all right,
sick.
if I can finish what I was going to say, please. I only got about one sentence in there. Your child did not have a 1 in 15,000 chance of getting the virus. That is a dangerous situation. Now, there are some kids out there that have underlying health conditions as well. There are adults that are going to be in these schools that are going to have underlying health conditions. When I was in school, there were a lot of people over the age of 60 that worked in offices, that worked in other places. It could be a dangerous situation. And I'm going to go back to what I said. And I'm going to go back to
with the flu,
and I'm going to
Brian.
go. Okay, again,
And the flu has
all right,
been proven to be
that's
five times.
That's when the conversation ends.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I'm not going to compare
isn't.
coronavirus to the flu. That's idiotic. I'm not sorry, JD. I'm not going to do that.
The
It's
flu
stupid.
is 6 times more deadly.
Oh my God.
For children under 15 or for anyone under 15 years old.
I wasn't
than the
just.
coronavirus.
You're not even listening to me. I wasn't just talking about kids. There are adults that work in these schools.
And under those same circumstances, those
Stop
adults
comparing
in
this virus
flu
to the
season
flu.
are at
Have you
risk
not
as well.
learned already that 140,000 people have died in less than 6 months, and you're still going to compare this to the flu under any circumstance? That is idiotic.
Brian,
I'm sorry, it's idiotic.
Brian, a bad flu season is about 75,000 deaths in the last 4 months.
okay.
If these deaths didn't
All right.
take place in nursing homes nationwide,
All right.
we'd be probably at 100,000 deaths
Fair
collectively
enough.
in 6 months.
If-
The total amount of people
I
that
got
have
you.
died in the United States is up a total of 8% in this deadly pandemic crisis since
Okay.
February 1st.
Funny, I haven't heard one person in Donald Trump's administration compare this to the flu and say the flu was just as deadly. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. By the way, last I checked, the White House task force put us in the red zone in the state of Nevada, and they are recommending that all gyms, all restaurants, and all bars being closed, but yet there are some people that are still trying to compare this to the flu. By the way, in this interview
that actually proves just how unbiased I am, that I'm willing to disagree with the White House and Vice President Mike Pence under those circumstances.
That's
I
noble
think
of you.
if masks work, then the economy, everything opens up and we wear masks.
All right.
if they work.
Nobody said that masks are foolproof 100%. That makes no sense to me. No one is claiming that. It just helps not spread this virus. Again, Joe Biden was the topic of conversation in this Donald Trump interview. Donald Trump said that Biden could never do an interview like the one that Donald Trump did with Wallace. Have a listen to this. Did we lose that cut? I think we lost that cut. Do we have that one up, Sean? Go ahead.
Let
Questions?
Biden sit through an interview like this. He'll be on the ground crying for mommy. He'll say, Mommy, please take me home.
Well, we've asked him for an interview, sir.
He can't do an interview. He's incompetent.
First of all, that is completely ridiculous. I've seen Joe Biden do plenty of interviews. He is not incompetent. The incompetent one is you, Mr. President, in my opinion. But Trump also
good one,
said
Brian.
that he would not accept the results of the 2020 election if he loses, which is another ridiculous claim. Have a listen to this.
In general, not talking about November, are you a good loser?
I'm not a good loser. I don't like to lose. I don't lose too often. I don't like to lose.
But are you gracious?
You don't know until you see. It depends. I think mail-in voting is going to rig the election. I really do.
Are you suggesting that you might not accept the results of the election?
I have to see.
Well, there you go. Donald Trump saying he might not accept. He said the same thing, by the way, back in 2016. It's just absolutely outrageous and ridiculous. All right, let's get to some more calls, 257-5396. Let's go to Steven. Steven is next on the Vegas Take. Steven, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Steven?
Hey, JD and Brian. Brian, I'm not too sure. I've been trying to determine who probably would be the best candidate. I remember the first interview that Mr. Biden did. He asked people to check out his website and gave people a name, that maybe they've never heard of him. And then he proceeded to say that he was running for United States Senate and he was running against Joe Biden. So when people tell me that.
So, all right, let's go with that for a second.
I'm not really sure.
Okay. All right. So first of all, all right, I'm done with this guy. He won't stop talking. First of all, if you're going to talk, sir, about somebody that maybe misspoke or didn't, say the right thing, you probably shouldn't call into a radio show because in that entire phone call, I only understood 3 words. That's number one. Number two,
I think his
you're
cell
telling
phone was
me
bad.
you're telling me that. in all the interviews that Trump has done, he hasn't misspoke. He hasn't misrepresented things. There's a difference, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would rather have somebody that misspeaks and makes a gaffe like, well, I'm running against Joe Biden, than somebody who gets up there on a stage and says this virus is going to be gone tomorrow. Okay, I'd rather have somebody do that. 257-5396. Go to Edward. Edward is next on the Vegas Take. Edward, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Edward?
Hey, I know I'm getting off topic, but it was just because you were going back to your daughter and stuff with the COVID. But I've had 2 COVID incidences lately. One of them was a family member, and she didn't even know she had it. And it was only because she got tested because of another coworker. But
Right.
And then the other one was we just had a guy that just died this weekend, and he had cancer, and it spread through his body, and they wanted his wife to sign a thing saying that he had COVID. And in the medical field, she said, I ain't signing nothing.
Okay.
Just saying. Just
Okay.
putting it out there.
Okay.
But
well,
we know that if you die of a motorcycle wreck, that could be COVID too. So
okay. Well, that's not true.
Which
and I don't-
actually happened in Florida recently.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Edward, and with all due respect, I don't think there's anything funny about this virus, and you're laughing about death. I find that.
No, he's laughing
if I could
because
just finish.
this is serious.
he's saying-
And believe
he's
me,
saying
I wear
someone-
a mask everywhere that I go to.
Yeah, so do I,
Okay,
Edward.
So, Edward, you can speak for yourself. You just talked about somebody dying in a motor. We're talking about death here. We're talking about people dying.
Right.
And you just said, well, if somebody dies in a motorcycle crash, they'll say it's COVID. That is a right-wing conspiracy theory, and that is not true. Now, you're giving me a story, and I have no idea.
Brian, it's happened
if I
at
could
least
just finish,
2 times.
if I could
Once in
just-
Colorado,
okay,
once in Florida.
okay,
That
so-
exact scenario has happened twice.
Okay, so what? Does that mean that all these deaths are inflated, Edward?
It means it's not a conspiracy theory.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
They're all inflated. Okay, Edward, thank you for the call. I think your phone
All right.
call was inflated.
Well,
Thank you.
I will tell you this, Brian. I did some research this weekend, and I found out that the average mortality rate for a Democratic-governed state is 4.4%.
Yeah, well,
The average let me finish. The average mortality rate for a Republican state is 2.3%. You have a 2 times better chance of dying of COVID-19 in a Democratic-governed state than a Republican-governed state.
Yeah,
and my question is, does the virus just choose where to be more deadly based on political leadership, or is there more going on,
Well-
like states getting money from the hospitals for the $100 billion that was
Sure.
given for the CARES Act?
sure. So let me answer
and
that.
trying to keep the economy
So,
down
Let me answer
in an
that.
election year so that Donald Trump loses because because we all know that
right.
Donald Trump's economy
Okay, so let me
was
know when
a
I can
big,
answer.
big part of why he had a very good chance of being reelected before COVID took place.
Okay,
so that's my question.
Okay, so I'll answer your question very simply put by being the president of the United States is a Republican, and the response to this virus was an F- joke. So that's the end of that conversation.
Response has been pretty
702.
good considering
yeah,
the
he's done
circumstances.
yeah, you're right. He's done a fantastic job. The
Anthony
fact,
Fauci
if I could just,
has been probably
there you go with
a
Anthony
D.
Fauci.
No,
it's not Trump's fault. It's Anthony
Anthony
Fauci's
Fauci
fault.
is the one
Absolutely
that gave
ridiculous.
Donald Trump all the
All right,
information.
So
the Surgeon General
folks, let's
suggested
review.
no mask. Fauci
folks,
said no
okay,
mask.
so
Brian.
folks, let's review real quickly here in the last 10 minutes. Masks don't work. We've learned that it's Democrats' fault for this virus. We've also learned that the Democrats this is a hoax, and the Democrats are just trying to get Trump out of office. So all the
Didn't say it was a
we've
hoax.
learned. Hold on, we've learned that the death numbers are inflated. That all kids should go back to school regardless of the risk. We've also learned that, and I am not going to continue to entertain right-wing conspiracy theories. Some other shows do that. I'm not going
There
to do
is
that.
no conspiracy theory,
702.
Brian. That's based on 4 million cases done over 6 months.
Okay, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Glenn. Glenn, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on, Glenn?
Hey, what's up, Glenn?
257-5396. Let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy's next up. What's going on?
Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, Brian, I think you accidentally gave the administration a backhanded compliment when you said they did something responsible and put us in the red zone.
That's actually kind of funny.
I'm sorry, man.
Who's
I'm
kicking the
just
extra?
playing with
Let Mike Pence kick the extra point. I'd like to see that. That's a funny one. I like that one, Jimmy. That was a good
you. Have
joke.
a great day, man.
No,
Thanks.
thanks for calling, Jimmy.
He's right. Jimmy's right. I did give the president credit for that. He scored a touchdown with Stormy Daniels. It cost him $120,000. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Ron. Ron is next on the Vegas Take. Ron, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Ron?
Good morning, gentlemen. I've got some good information to give you, and I don't know arguing, calling no names. This is a sane phone call. I was at a casino
See how long this
last week for 6 days, Monday, Tuesday, well, actually 7 days.
Ron, did you sleep at all?
It's located at West Tropicana and Polaris Avenue.
That sounds
Can
like
I
a very
say
nice area. Yeah.
Can I say the name?
Wild Wild West?
Yes. yes. Okay, you hit it right.
By the way, just so you know, Ron, there's definitely no hookers around that area, and there's no drugs. It's very safe
Yeah,
there.
they pretty much cleaned it up. You're right, they did.
I was being
but
sarcastic.
there
Go ahead.
is a Raising Cane's that I used to frequent quite a bit over there,
Go ahead,
and a
Ron.
nice Starbucks.
Go ahead,
Well,
Ron.
let me explain.
Ron, what are they
what's going on.
charging per night in a place like that? $19.95? Is there a resort fee? The resort fee is you get a free line of cocaine in the bathroom. Is that?
I don't want to talk about that.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
want to tell you some great information now. And this is no joke.
I already got great information. You stayed a week at
Absolutely.
Wild Wild West. Why? I want to know why.
This is no joke. Can I explain what I got to say?
Did you get bed bugs the
Ron,
next day?
Ron, I'm ready for you.
Would you please let me give you this information, gentlemen?
Ron, what were they charging you per night for the
No,
room?
I was in there all week, and all week long there was no more than a half a dozen people in that place. I swear to God.
No,
There
I
were
believe
more.
you. I
Now
believe you.
listen to me. Can I please talk?
Oh, Jesus. Go ahead, Ron.
My God. There
Ron,
was
what were
more
they charging you?
people-
Ron,
there
what were they
more
charging you
people-
per night for the room?
Oh, my God in heaven.
Ron,
There
did
were
you get
more
bed
people
bugs?
working there
Ron, how many
than
hookers were there?
customers.
Ron, how many hookers?
Can I get to my point?
Please.
Can I explain something to you guys?
If you tell
please?
me why you were there for a week, I will let you finish. Why were you staying at the
I
Wild Wild
live
West?
here. I'm a local.
Well,
Okay,
I've never
I'm
heard of a
local. I can go anywhere I want to go in this town.
I've never heard of a
So let me-
local.
Can I explain why I called?
I want to know, and my listeners deserve to know, why you decided to stay a week at Wild Wild West. Did your
I
house
did not
burn
tell
down?
you- Oh, come on, my God. in
Just
heaven.
answer the question,
What
and
do
then
you-
we can move on. I think my.
I just told you I live here. I can go there every day. I don't live there. I never stayed in that place in 40 years.
So
I've
answer
been
the
living in
question.
town.
Why did you stay at Wild Wild
Can I
West for a
explain
week?
why can I
Ron,
please
answer the
explain
question.
why I called?
Answer the
Can I
question.
give you some pertinent
I
information?
want to know, like a lovely man like yourself, why one day you said, you know what, I'm going to stay 1 week in the Wild Wild
Retired
West.
Union Iron worker and a bridgeman.
Okay. All right.
I've done
Fair
the
enough.
most dangerous work in the world.
All right.
All I'm trying to do is tell you something that is very pertinent.
The floor is
information,
yours. Go.
and you won't let me.
No, I just wanted to know
Now,
why you
when
stayed there.
you go in the place, let me tell you what happens.
Oh, you're killing
You
me.
got to wear a mask. All right, that's fine.
That's great information.
Now, but if you're a smoker, you don't have to wear the mask. Now, all week long, that place didn't have more than 6 people. They had more help there every day.
Yeah.
And then they had customers. Friday, the place was pretty well. There must have been 100 people in there,
Wow.
and half of them were not wearing masks. There were 6 to 8 of them congregating around somebody playing the slot machine.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you smoke, you don't have to wear your mask.
Well, thank you for that information, Ron. I'm going to give you a.
No.
No. Hold on, Ron. I can't. I can't. No. I can't take any more of this. Ron, I'm going to give you some advice, and take it or leave it. Don't stay at the Wild Wild West. Just don't stay there. I heard they play the Will Smith song, Welcome to the Wild Wild West 24/7 in a loop.
Wiki Wild Wild, Brian.
He's a gangster rapper, that Will Smith. Thank you,
He's
Ron.
got a great marriage, too.
Does that seem a little weird to you? Because the most interesting part of that phone call was, why would you stay there for a week at the Wild Wild West?
Yeah, that was pretty different. You know
why
what?
would you do that?
So
what would be
you
your
men-
reasoning for
so
that?
you mentioned
Are you going on a hooker crack binge? Like, what? Why would you
Well,
stay there?
they call that a staycation, Brian. And I've had a couple of those
That's
myself.
not
but
much of a
nothing
staycation.
like that, though. So you mentioned Stormy Daniels. Michael Avenatti apparently cannot pay his legal fees. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. I did see that. Yes.
Yeah. Very interesting.
I don't know what you want me to add to that. I don't know.
Nothing.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's try to. Do we have enough time for one more quick caller? Carl, I got about a minute for you, my friend. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi guys. Listen, the Wallace interview was a real primer in pathological responses. I mean, when he talks about the cognitive tests, which are ridiculous, I saw it in the paper, the whole test. It mentioned what animals you see. Well, I mean, any smart fifth grader could have passed it. And he kept saying he aced it and nobody else could do it.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. I mean,
I agree.
It's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
also he brought up the Fair Housing Act. He wants to repeal it. And this is very racist. He said, I want to save the suburbs.
Yeah.
People, if we don't have that, certain people may be moving into and ruin the suburb. Well, you know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you, Carl. I agree with everything you said there. And I don't think Donald Trump did himself any favors doing that interview. But you know what? Listen, I know. You say, well, Brian, you're a Trump hater. Well, every single time Donald Trump is unscripted, he makes a fool of himself. When Donald Trump is scripted and he reads his little speech, he hits all the right-wing talking points, he does okay. But anytime he's off script, he says stupid things. What do you want me to say? There is a difference between Joe Biden and making a gaffe and misspeaking and Donald Trump saying something that might paint him out to be misogynistic, might paint him out to be racist, might paint him out to be someone with no empathy. There is a difference there, and I speak for myself when I say I would rather have somebody in office that occasionally has a gaffe or two, but doesn't defend the Confederate flag and doesn't attack.